Picture this. You're standing on a casino floor at 2 in the morning, convinced you're about to turn things around. The machine next to you just paid out. The dealer gives you a nod. The cocktail waitress appears out of nowhere with a fresh drink, like she read your mind. Everything around you feels like it's on your side. It isn't. I know because for 40 years, I was on the other side of all of it, and what I watched happen to players night after night, year after year, would make your stomach drop. Hi, my name is Michael, and this is Old Vegas Legends, how the floor is designed to trap you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a casino planning to stay for an hour and looked up to find that 4 hours had disappeared? You're not weak-willed, you're not irresponsible. You were, quite literally, engineered into that situation. And I mean that word precisely. Engineered. The first thing you need to understand about a casino floor is that every single inch of it was designed by someone who studied human psychology for a living. This isn't speculation. This isn't a conspiracy theory. I sat in the meetings, I reviewed the floor plans. The goal, stated plainly in internal documents I read dozens of times, was dwell time. The longer you stay, the more you spend. Everything on that floor exists to increase dwell time. No clocks, no windows. You've probably known this for years. But here's what you don't know. It goes much deeper than removing a clock from the wall. The lighting in a casino is calibrated to mimic mid-afternoon daylight, specifically the kind of light that makes your body feel alert and awake, regardless of what time it actually is outside. They're not just hiding the time, they're convincing your nervous system that it isn't late yet. The carpet. Go ahead and laugh, but I'm serious. The carpet in a casino is one of the most carefully chosen elements in the entire building. Loud patterns, disorienting geometrics, clashing colors. You know why? Because ugly carpet keeps your eyes up. Your eyes stay up, you're looking at machines, tables, action. Your eyes go down, you're checking out, you're thinking about leaving. Nobody in the history of Las Vegas ever got hypnotized by a slot machine while staring at the floor. Then there's the maze layout. Bill Friedman, a former casino manager turned academic, essentially wrote the Bible on casino floor design. His philosophy was that casinos should feel like a series of small, intimate spaces, with gaming equipment positioned to create natural stopping points at every turn. You were never supposed to be able to see the exit from wherever you were standing. Think about that. The exit is architecturally hidden from you, not locked, not blocked, just quietly, deliberately, invisible. Now, I have to address the oxygen myth, because I get asked about this constantly. No, casinos do not pump extra oxygen into the air to keep you awake. I worked in this industry for 40 years, and I never once encountered a property that did this. What they do pump through the ventilation system is carefully selected scent. Yes, scent. Research going back to the 1990s showed that certain ambient aromas, subtle, clean, slightly sweet, increased the amount of time people spent at slot machines. The Mirage used it, the Bellagio used it, most major properties use it. You can't smell it consciously, that's the point. And the free drinks, oh, the free drinks. Everyone thinks the free drinks are a gift from the casino. Let me be direct with you. The free drinks are the most profitable item on the entire floor. Alcohol slows your decision making. It increases your risk tolerance. It makes you stay longer. A player who has had 3 complimentary cocktails will, on average, sit at a machine or a table significantly longer than a sober player. I watch this every single night for 4 decades. The drink isn't free. You're paying for it one pull at a time. What dealers are secretly trained to do. I was a dealer before I was anything else. 1983, a mid-sized property downtown, before downtown became what it is today. Back then, you learned to deal from guys who'd been on the floor since the Rat Pack era. Old school dealers who treated the job like a craft. And part of that craft, the part nobody puts in the employee handbook, was managing the player, not cheating. Let me be absolutely clear. The casino doesn't need to cheat. The math already guarantees they win in the long run. What dealers are trained to do is far more subtle than that. It's pace control, it's atmosphere management, and once you understand it, you will never sit at a table the same way again. Pace control is exactly what it sounds like. A dealer controls how fast the game moves. Fast hands mean more decisions per hour. More decisions per hour means the house edge compounds faster. A blackjack dealer running 30% more hands per hour isn't cheating anyone. The odds are identical on every hand, but your money is disappearing 30% faster. A slow, friendly dealer chatting with the table might feel like better service. Sometimes it is, but sometimes the slow pace is being used to keep a losing player comfortable enough to stay at the table instead of walking away. Then there's the small talk. Every dealer is trained, formally or informally, to read a player and find the thing that keeps them engaged. Sports, hometowns, jobs, family. I watched dealers keep a guy at a table for 6 extra hours simply by talking about college football. The guy was down considerably. He kept saying he was about to go, but every time he reached for his chips, the dealer asked about the game. Was that manipulative? You tell me. But I saw it work, night after night. Here's one that will really bother you. Dealers are trained to spot what the industry calls a fish. That's a player who's inexperienced, overly emotional, or making clearly bad decisions. A fish is valuable, not because dealers are cruel people. Most of the ones I worked with were genuinely decent human beings, but because the system they operate inside rewards player retention above everything else. When a fish sits down, the floor supervisor notices. The cocktail waitress gets a subtle signal. The pace slows slightly to keep the player comfortable. The comp offer appears at exactly the right moment. I want to say something here because I know how this sounds. The majority of dealers I worked with over 40 years were working people, good people, people who needed the job, valued the tips, and genuinely liked the interaction with players. Most of them went home at night and didn't think twice about any of this. The system isn't built on individual malice. It's built on institutional design. There's a difference, an important one. But here's what nobody ever told the players sitting across from us. When a dealer is being warm, friendly, and engaging, it is impossible for you to know whether that warmth is genuine or professional. And after 40 years, I'll tell you honestly, sometimes I didn't know either. The comp system is a lie. I'm gonna say something that will get me in trouble with some people in this industry. The comp system, the entire structure of points and rewards and free rooms and free meals, is one of the most sophisticated financial extraction tools ever invented. And it works because it makes you feel like you're winning while you're losing. Here's how it actually works. Every time you use your player's card, the casino is tracking your theoretical loss, not your actual loss, your theoretical loss, based on the game you're playing, the house edge on that game, your average bet size, and the number of hours you've played. The casino calculates how much you should have lost according to the math. Then they give you back a small percentage of that theoretical loss as comps. The industry standard, and this varied somewhat by property and era, was to return somewhere between 30 and 40% of your theoretical loss in complementary benefits. So, if the math said you should have lost $500 over the course of a session, the casino might give you back $150 in free food, a discounted room, or show tickets. Here's what they never told you. The comp offer always came when you were losing, not when you were up, not when you were ahead and thinking about cashing out. The floor supervisor watching your table had one primary job when a player started winning significantly: get them comfortable, keep them playing. A well-timed comp offer to a player who's up $300 is extraordinarily effective at keeping them in their seat until the math reasserts itself. I watched this executed perfectly thousands of times. A player hits a good run at blackjack. They're up $200, maybe $300. They're starting to think about dinner, about calling it a night. Before they can act on that thought, a casino host appears. "Sir, we'd love to take care of dinner for you tonight. We've got a table at the steakhouse with your name on it." Wonderful. The player sits back down to play a little more before dinner. 2 hours later, the dinner is free. The $300 they were up is gone, plus another $400 they didn't plan to spend. The free room is the greatest trick of all. Because here's what a free room actually costs you. Nothing on its face. But a free room means you're sleeping on the property. You wake up 20 feet from a casino floor. You have no commute to get to the tables. You have no transition, no moment of separation, no buffer between bet and bet. The free room is an anchor. And I say this as someone who used to approve comp requests. We knew exactly what we were doing. Slot machines, the biggest con on the floor. I'm going to be honest with you, slots were never my area of deepest expertise. I was a table game guy at heart, old school. Give me a blackjack pit over a slot floor any day of the week. But I spent enough years in senior floor management to understand the slot operation well enough to tell you things that should genuinely alarm you. The number that matters most is hold percentage. That's the percentage of all money wagered that the machine keeps over time. In 1985, the average slot hold percentage on the Las Vegas Strip was somewhere around 4 to 5%, tight by the standards of the era, but far more generous than what exists today. By 2024, the Nevada Gaming Control Board reported strip slot hold percentages averaging 8.23%. Downtown Las Vegas, 8.47%. Penny slots, closing in on 10% at most major properties. Read that again. You are losing on average nearly twice as fast at a slot machine today as you would have in the mid-1980s. And the machines look better, sound better, feel better than they ever have. That is not a coincidence. Here's the thing about penny slots that I want every player to hear clearly. A penny slot machine is not a penny. When you'll sit down at a modern penny slot, the machine might have 50, 100, even 200 active pay lines. You're betting a penny per line per spin, which means a single spin costs you anywhere from 50 cents to $2 or more. The penny designation is the most misleading marketing in the history of gambling. And I say that as someone who watched the rollout of these machines and sat in the meetings where we talked about player perception versus actual bet size. Now, the near miss. I need to talk about the near miss. Walk up to any modern slot machine and watch it for a few minutes. You will notice something. It seems like you're constantly just barely missing the jackpot. 2 cherries and then a blank on the third reel. 3 symbols in a row, then nothing on the fourth line. This is not random chance expressing itself dramatically. This is a programmed outcome. Modern slot machines, which are entirely computer controlled, are specifically coded to produce near-miss results at a rate far beyond what true randomness would generate. Near misses are psychologically compelling. They trigger almost the same neurological response as an actual win. They make you feel like you're close, like the machine is warm, like one more spin might do it. One more spin never does it. That's the whole point. And the placement. The loosest machines in a casino are never deep inside the floor. They're at the ends of rows, near entrances, near high traffic areas, near the cage. Why? Because a machine paying out visibly is an advertisement. It's a billboard that says, "This floor pays." You hear the bells from the entrance. You walk past a row and someone's winning. The machines you sit down at inside the floor, the ones you chose because you felt comfortable, because you've been walking for a while and your feet hurt, and this spot looked good. Those machines are not loose. They never were. The high roller illusion. Let me tell you something about whales that the casino industry does not want publicly discussed. High rollers are expensive, extraordinarily expensive. The cost of servicing a genuine whale, private jets, penthouse suites, personal hosts available around the clock, gourmet catering, ground transportation, entertainment, gifts. The whole production can easily run into 6 figures per visit for a single player. And then that player might sit down at a baccarat table and get lucky. Because luck happens, even to the house. I worked alongside casino hosts who spent their entire careers managing relationships with a handful of ultra-high net worth players. And I watched what happened when a whale had a good run. The mood backstage changed. Senior management got involved. And I'll tell you, the math of a whale visit is far more volatile and far less reliable than the steady, predictable grind of 10,000 regular players at $5 slots. The casino industry talks about high rollers the way a struggling restaurant talks about one celebrity who ate there once. It's marketing, it's positioning. It creates an aura of exclusivity that makes regular players feel like they're adjacent to something glamorous. But the financial reality of the whale strategy, especially as the Strip has abandoned its middle market over the past decade, is that you're trading volume and stability for variance and spectacle. Here's the thing about a VIP host that nobody tells players. Your VIP host is not your friend. I want to be careful how I say this, because I knew many hosts who were genuinely warm, caring people who built real relationships with their players over many years. But a casino host's job, their performance metric, their reason for being employed, is your theoretical loss. They are measured by how much money their players lose. A host who builds a beautiful friendship with a player who stops gambling is a host who gets a poor performance review. The relationships is real. The financial incentive underneath it is also real. And those two things exist simultaneously every single day. I'll tell you something that happened on a floor I supervised years ago that I've never told anyone outside this industry. We had a player, regular guy, middle management type. Not a whale by any definition, but loyal. Came 4 times a year. Same host every time. His host knew his wife's name, his kids' names, his anniversary, called him on his birthday, genuinely seemed to care. One year this player had a rough run, lost more than he should have, started showing signs, missing shifts, coming in agitated, borrowing to fund his play. His host flagged it internally. You know what management did? They sent him a promotional mailer the following week. Because the system is not designed to protect the player. It is designed to protect the revenue. What happened to the old Vegas deal? I want to tell you about 1983 Vegas, because most of you who are watching this either never saw it or were too young to remember it clearly. When I started dealing downtown, the relationship between a casino and its players was fundamentally different from what exists today. And I don't say that with rose-colored glasses. Old Vegas had its own problems, plenty of them. But there was a deal, an unspoken agreement between the house and the player that I watched get systematically dismantled over the course of my career. The deal worked like this. You come in, you gamble, the house will win over time because the math guarantees it. But in exchange, the casino made the experience worth having. Real beef at the buffet, loose enough slots that a lucky player could walk away ahead. Table minimums low enough that a regular person could play for hours on a reasonable bankroll. Comps that felt generous. Staff that knew your name, shows that were actually spectacular without costing you a month's salary. Nobody got rich running that model, but everybody kept coming back. The first crack appeared when corporate money entered the picture. When Steve Wynn opened the Mirage in 1989 with junk bond financing and a $1 million a day debt service requirement, he proved that you could build something extraordinary and charge accordingly. The problem wasn't the Mirage. The Mirage was genuinely revolutionary. The problem was what the Mirage taught Wall Street. It taught them that Vegas could be financialized, that it could be optimized, that the margins were too low and the middle market was too expensive to serve. By the mid-1990s, the publicly traded casino companies began buying up properties. MGM, Caesars, Harrah's. And with public ownership came quarterly earnings calls and shareholder expectations, and a new kind of casino executive. Not the old gambling men who came up through the floor, who understood that a player who felt good came back. The new executives came from finance, from hospitality conglomerates, from McKinsey consulting reports. And they looked at the Vegas business model, and they saw inefficiency everywhere. The free parking went first, then the cheap buffets, then the loose slots tightened. The table minimums crept upward, the comp offers got stingier. The resort fees appeared from nowhere and climbed relentlessly. I watched every single one of these changes get implemented, and I watched the internal justifications offered for each one. Cost recovery, margin improvement, revenue optimization. Words that mean nothing to the guy from Cincinnati who saved up all year to take his family to Vegas and finds himself paying $52 a night in resort fees on top of a room rate that's already doubled since his last visit. What died was trust. That's the cleanest way I know to say it. The old Vegas deal was built on trust. You trusted the casino to give you a fair shake. The casino trusted you to keep coming back. When corporations started optimizing the deal into oblivion, the trust left with it. And trust, once gone, does not return on the strength of a promotional email. The things I'm only saying now. There are things I knew for decades that I never said out loud. Some of it because of the job, some of it because of loyalty to co-workers and management who were, in most respects, decent people operating inside a broken system. Some of it, I'll be honest with you, because I wasn't sure I believed my own unease. When you're inside something for 40 years, you normalize a lot, but I'm outside it now. So, here goes. The industry knew about problem gambling long before it publicly acknowledged it. I sat in management meetings in the 1990s where problem gambling came up, not as a human welfare concern, as a liability question. The framing was never, how do we identify people who are being harmed and help them? The framing was, how do we manage our exposure if a problem gambler sues us or attracts regulatory attention? There is a difference between those two conversations that I think about a great deal now. Self-exclusion lists exist today, and I'll give the industry some credit for that. They do exist, and the major properties take them somewhat seriously. But for most of my career, a problem gambler who wanted to keep gambling faced very little institutional resistance. The floor staff were not trained to intervene. They were trained to manage the experience and maintain revenue. Those two objectives are not compatible when a person in crisis is sitting at a machine at 4 in the morning feeding their rent money into a penny slot. Here's something else. The surveillance operation in a major casino is extraordinary. I mean, truly extraordinary. The eye in the sky, as it's called, can read the denomination on a chip from the ceiling. It can track a specific player's movement across an entire floor. It can identify card counters within a few hands of play based on behavioral patterns. The technology that existed even in the 1990s, before digital surveillance, was more sophisticated than most people imagined. Today, it is essentially a real-time artificial intelligence system, monitoring every square foot of the floor simultaneously. Now, I want you to think about what that surveillance capability means. The casino has the ability to know, in real time, that a player has been at the same machine for 9 hours. They can see that a player's body language has shifted from enjoyment to desperation. They have more information about what's happening on that floor than any player ever will. And the primary use of that information is protecting casino assets, identifying cheaters, and managing operational risk. Not protecting the player sitting in front of a machine who, by any observable measure, needs someone to tap them on the shoulder and suggest they go home. I'm not saying casinos are evil. I want to be clear about that. I gave this industry 40 years because I also saw genuine joy on that floor, real excitement, people winning in ways that changed their lives. Couples celebrating anniversaries, friends making memories. There was a time, a long time, when the industry earned what it took from people because the experience it gave back was worth something. That's the part I miss. That's the Vegas I got into this business to be part of. What I'd tell every player walking in today, after 40 years, if I could sit across from you before you walk through those doors, here's what I'd tell you. Set your number before you go in and treat it like it's already gone. Don't set a loss limit. Set a budget. A spending budget, the same way you'd budget for a concert or a vacation activity, because that money is entertainment expenditure. The second you start thinking of it as investment capital, that might come back. The casino owns you. They built the whole operation around that exact thought process. Stay away from penny slots. I know they feel low risk. I know the denominations seem manageable, but a penny slot running 200 active pay lines at a 9% hold is taking your money faster than almost any other game on the floor. If you want to play slots and make your money last, look for 3 real machines with a clear single pay line. The complexity of modern video slots is designed to obscure how fast your balance is declining. If you're going to play table games, find a table with 3-2 blackjack payouts, and do not sit down at a 6-5 table under any circumstances. That single rule change is worth approximately 1.39% of every dollar you wager. Over an evening of play, that is not a trivial number. Ask what the payout is before you sit. If the dealer seems annoyed that you asked, walk away from that table. Understand that the comp offer is timed. It will come when you're winning and thinking about leaving, or it will come when you're losing and they want you to stay comfortable. Neither timing is accidental. The comp is not a reward for loyalty. It is a tool for revenue management. Enjoy it when it comes, because the math says you've earned it several times over. But do not let it make a decision for you about whether to keep playing. Here's the most important thing I know after 40 years. The players who left Vegas with their dignity intact, and I watched thousands of players over decades, were the ones who decided in advance that the experience itself was the point, not the winning, not the chasing. The food, the shows, the energy of the floor, the thrill of a few hours at a table. They walked in knowing the house would win, and choosing to enjoy the ride anyway. That kind of player is almost impossible to exploit, because they've already accepted the terms honestly, which is more than I can say for the industry that built the place. Vegas used to meet players halfway on that bargain. Loose enough slots, low enough minimums, generous enough comps, good enough stakes at reasonable enough prices that the math of losing felt like a fair trade for the experience of being there. That bargain is mostly gone now. And I'll tell you, sitting here on the other side of 40 years, that loss feels personal to me in a way I didn't expect, because I believed in the deal too. I believed that what we were offering was something real, something that couldn't be optimized into a quarterly earnings report. I was wrong about that. The accountants won, the Rat Pack lost, and Las Vegas is currently learning, the hard way, that you cannot squeeze loyalty out of a customer base you've been squeezing for a decade. That's what 40 years looks like from the inside. I've been holding on to most of this for a long time, and honestly, some of it felt like a betrayal to put into words. I loved this industry. Parts of it, I still do, but the Vegas I loved deserved better than what it became, and the players who built it deserve better than what they got. My name is Michael. This is Old Vegas Legends. If any of this hit close to home, If you've been feeling what I've been describing every time you walk onto a modern casino floor, I want to hear your story in the comments. Not the winning stories, the real ones. Hit that subscribe button if you want more of this. We're not here to sell you anything. We're not sponsored by anybody. We're here because somebody has to say what happened to the Vegas we built together, and somebody has to say it true. See you next time.